Mr. Gary O'Mealy, who's from the manager of the Management Services Division at the Australian Gaslight Company, been lecturing interested people in Newcastle on what such people as in management services can do to aid, well, production and industry today. Tell me, why is industry sort of suspect of you specialists?
Well, I suppose you have to divide industry into two phases. There's management and the workers, you might say, in industry. Management can be suspect of operations research and scientific matters because they don't really understand the benefits that this can bring to them. Happily, I'm pleased to say that this situation is changing. And more over the last couple of years, the advent of computers and indeed demonstrated results has proved that management can well benefit from scientific application of its problems.
It's not a case then of management fearing that you're going to do their job for them.
I think once upon a time this was the case. Happily, because of demonstrated results, we're getting a different situation. Indeed, management is realising that as life becomes more complex in the business sense, they have to turn to tools in order to survive. Tools of mathematics, using computers, economics, and really thinking harder about the problems of today, especially when, say, money is becoming tighter. One has to compete harder against one's competitors to survive.
Are you saying then that it's only when times begin get a bit tough that the management looks to you people to get them out of trouble?
In the first instance, I would say yes, but once having sucked and seen, management often can see benefits in turning to scientific matters even when the going is good. My own company, for example, is entrusting, say, the design of all the natural gas facilities for the Sydney-Newcastle Wollongong complex to the Operations Research Department in our own area. This is a project involving, say, $150 million or thereabouts. This has been entrusted to us.
Isn't there a risk when things get worked out mathematically or by computers that management becomes a bit inhuman, forgets the human content?
I suppose this is the case, although I would like to think that scientific methods enable management to become superhuman. In other words, they add to their own decision-making capacities. I suppose we've all heard of the manager who, when asked the question, do you have trouble making decisions, says, well, yes and no. What operations research does, I feel, is make the decision-making process a great deal more easy for management because it investigates that many more possibilities.
Indeed, I've heard that there's a little bit of a boot on the other foot too, and that part of the lack of liaison is due to you specialists living in a bit of an ivory tower.
You're probably right to a certain extent, and I think specialists can blame themselves for this because they, specialists, I suppose I should say, often get too fascinated with the problems that we're actually dealing with, the mathematical beauty of the problem that we're dealing with, without really thinking of the goals and the requirements of the organisation at the same time. What's needed is a specialist who is not an ivory tower specialist, as you put it, but one who is a production floor specialist who gets out and is known to everyone, not only knows how to solve mathematical equations, to program a computer, but also knows the problems of production.
Well, you came to Newcastle to set up a management services branch up here. What success did you have?
Very good. Very good interest. We have had a meeting up here at which there were best part of 50 or more people attending. There's a great deal of interest expressed not only from local industries but also from the service groups, the universities and so on. And this is the way it should be. There is a very strong and enthusiastic group up here in this city, which is, after all, the cradle of Australia's industrial strength. And it's good to see that this scientific artillery is being brought to bear on the problems. A new society, I understand, is in the process of formation in the Hunter Valley to deal with such questions as the marriage of science, technology, computers, economics and whatever under this heading of operations research, and I think it's going to go really well.
Thank you very much. I've been speaking with Mr. Gary O'Mealy, the manager of the Australian Gaslight Company's Management Services Division.
Max, how long has this orchestra been going?
Well, August 1968, so that makes it 3 years now.
Is it the first orchestra you've had?
No, it's not the first orchestra that I've had, but I've never had an orchestra for as long as I've had this one.
And most people seem to think you deserve the credit for its quality. How do you answer that?
People may say that, but the credit lies, I think, equally shared by all the boys, and I suppose I've got a part of it, but it's not by any means a large part, I shouldn't think. There's quite a lot of people involved in this orchestra, as you can see, and they amount to about 30, so you can divide the credit 30 ways.
Perhaps 31.
Well, 31 if you like, yeah.
Thanks.
The top block on Webland Street in this particular subdivision. The reserve on this, in this case, is 1800. The council got big-hearted and generous. Who ever heard of a reserve of 1800 for blocks like this? Now, who'll give me a start at the reserve? Who'll give me a start? 1800 I've got. Here's a man with a lot of value. $2,000. $2,000 for this delightful block of land. $2,000. It's a gift at the price. $2,000. And a quarter. 20 and a quarter. 2025. 2050. 2050 I've got. 2050. Do I hear three quarters? 2050. It's going at 2050. Never surely. 2050. Don't I? Yes, I've got it. Three quarters. Any advance on 2075? 2075's a bid. I've got it. $2,100. $2,100. It's going at $2,100. $2,100 for this block of land. It's going at $2,100. Going once, going twice. Sold for $2,100.